With a few strokes of her pen, the job was done. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi signed off on the 2 articles of impeachment against the President of the United States, one for abuse of power and the other for obstruction of Congress. In a ceremonial procession so rarely seen at the Capitol, they were hand-delivered to the courtroom where the historic trial will be held, in the Senate next week.
I have been directed by the House of Representatives to inform the Senate the House has passed H-Res 798, a resolution appointing and authorizing managers for the impeachment trial of Donald John Trump.
Pelosi appointed 7 House managers to act as the prosecution, a group with extensive litigation experience who are highly respected within the Democratic Party. Among them, the man who drew up the text of the charges against the 45th president.
If the Senate doesn't permit the introduction of all relevant witnesses and of all documents that the House wants to introduce, because the House is the prosecutor here, then the Senate is engaging in an unconstitutional and disgusting cover-up.
The Republican majority Senate, which acts as both judge and juror, has yet to lay out the procedure for the 3rd impeachment trial in U.S. history. Potential witnesses such as former National Security Advisor John Bolton have not been entirely ruled out. Republican leadership wants to forge ahead and wrap this up quickly, insisting the 2/3 vote to acquit the president is locked in.
We'll pledge to rise above the petty factionalism and do justice for our institutions, for our states, and for the nation. And then we will formally notify the White House of our pending trial and summon the president to answer the articles and send his counsel.
Trump remains dismissive.
They have a hoax going on over there. Let's take care of it.
The formalities will begin on Thursday because the articles of impeachment are privileged, and that means they must be taken up within a day by the Senate. The Chief Justice of the United States, John Roberts, will take his oath to preside over the trial, and then he'll swear in 100 senators. After that, Congress takes off for the long holiday weekend before televised opening arguments begin on Tuesday. Yasmine El-Sabawi, TRT World, Washington.
Well, for more on this, I'm joined by Dave Brat in Lynchburg, Virginia. He's the Dean of Business at Liberty University and a former Republican representative for Virginia's 7th Congressional District. Welcome to Money Talks, Dave. Now, as we go to air, just the 3rd trial against a US president has commenced in the US Senate. Do you believe that Donald Trump has a case to answer here?
The reporting has been a little unclear, right? Nancy Pelosi sent over 2 articles of impeachment, neither of which relate to any law that has been violated. And so that's a problem. In the House, you can do a political theater and get away with it, but now it goes to the Senate where they actually have to conduct a legal trial. And if you're going to impeach someone, you have to name the statute that's been violated. The great legal scholar, liberal legal scholar, Alan Dershowitz, has repeated that point over and over and over. And I heard the news that some body has declared he did something illegal today. What is it? What statute has been violated? Because Dershowitz, the Harvard scholar, has also noted that conducting foreign policy and making deals with international entities is not illegal. That's what presidents do. And so there's a high hurdle. The Democrats have come nowhere near clearing that hurdle. And the reporting tends to conflate the 2 articles of impeachment, and then breaking the law is alleged. The House, Pelosi's report makes no such claim that any law has been broken. They just have a couple generic phrases, and they've gotten away with that in the theater of the House, where no Republican witnesses were allowed. And now it goes to the Senate, and I think they'll be more fair, and they'll conduct a trial under law, and you have to name the law that's been violated.
Okay, but the US body, the nonpartisan body, the Government Accountability Office, just ahead of these proceedings in the Senate, gave a legal opinion saying that Donald Trump did in fact break the law when he withheld military aid to Ukraine. It says, quote, "Faithful execution of the law does not permit the president to substitute his own policy priorities for those that Congress has enacted into law." And that's what the GAO opinion has stated. Don't you think that carries a bit of weight there?
I don't think it carries any weight whatsoever. The deep state, the State Department, CIA, FBI have all been caught in terrible misdeeds of their own. The witnesses that the House brought against President Trump declared that the president does not agree with the majority of State Department officials on what foreign policy to conduct. They failed to notice that the president is over them. He sets foreign policy. So this is a political argument, and the bodies that have represented U.S. foreign policy for the last 30 years have somehow missed the 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is China. President Trump is the only president in 30 years that has paid attention to the primary enemy that's coming after the U.S. Read China 2025. It's their own document. They say there's going to be a cyber economic war launched against the U.S. And that's why the day after the U.S. hit Soleimani in Iran, China came out and said, let's get back to the peace table on nukes. That's because for their Belt and Road Initiative, they want peace and calm for 10 years in Iran so they can further their economic war against the U.S. And they're clearly violating all of the restrictions we're trying to put up to isolate Iran and their reign of terror against the world.
Okay, let's talk about the economy for a moment. You mentioned China there. Donald Trump, as we know, has waged an 18-month-long trade war with Beijing. They signed that Phase 1 trade agreement just the other day. It is hard to deny some of the economic successes that's happened under Trump's administration. We've got joblessness at record lows, the stock market hitting record highs, GDP growth is still relatively robust in the US. I'm wondering, might these impeachment proceedings, this impeachment trial in the Senate undermine some of these successes that have been achieved under Trump's watch?
I don't think so at all. I taught economics for 20 years and did economic forecasts. And the financial folks watching your show are all aware there's a couple risk indices out there. One is a political risk indice, and the other is an economic market risk, the VIX and all that. The two are not correlated. There's a lot of graphs out there that have them both, interpolated on top of each other. And so I just refer everybody to those. The evidence is all in. It's already, everybody knows what's going to happen, right? He's going to be acquitted. There's no crime, no law that's been named yet. And so everybody knows what's coming. That's why the market's up. They know the good news and good policy is going to continue from the White House. In the meantime, the Democrats, with all this political hostility, they want more government. They want a bigger government. And I think the American people are saying, we've had enough of this politics. Let's downsize the role of this politics and drama in our life every day and get back to work and get this economy rolling and give kids success every day like we try to do at Liberty University.
Okay, Dave Brat, we'll have to leave it there. But thank you so much for your analysis from Lynchburg, Virginia.